Who told you that you can't be yourself when you speak? Who said you can't be humorous? Who said that you're supposed to contort yourself to be approved of by others? You probably know that answer better than me.
Welcome to Oversharing with Rhonda, a podcast to amplify the voices of trailblazing women. My name is Rhonda Khan, and I believe in the power of authenticity, vulnerability, and storytelling to connect the masses. As a public speaking coach, speech therapist, performer, mom, and chronic oversharer, I'm often empowering others to own their stories. And what I've found is that the most transformative change happens when we share our journeys while being unapologetically ourselves.
We are back with another solo episode. This time it's about one of my favorite topics, turning off your presenter mode. Now, if you followed any of my content, you know that I talk about turning off presenter mode all the time. What do I mean about presenter mode? Y'all, presenter mode is what I see so many people do. Even sometimes I have caught myself doing it when you start to present. When I meet someone, they're often expressing so much personality, dare I say authenticity, vibrancy, and I see all their unique strengths, quirks when they speak informally. But the moment it's time to actually present, to deliver a talk, to speak in front of the people at the meeting, they bring in a presenter mode. It's likely that you don't even know you are doing it. It's possible that you think that this is the way you're supposed to present. Maybe you think this is what it is. Perhaps you're trying to imitate your favorite speakers. Maybe, and this is the case I see with a lot of folks that I work with, maybe you feel like there are cultural or societal norms that pressure you to show up in a way that's not you. And I know you know what I mean. But I'm here to tell you, y'all don't need it. Stop doing it. You don't have to show up in a way that doesn't serve you. Just turn it off. Let it go. In this episode, I break down how to turn off presenter mode and show up intentionally as yourself. This episode was originally an Instagram Live, so if you hear a "hey girl" or two, that is why. The message today is about turning off your presenter mode. That's right. Turn off your presenter mode. What do I mean by presenter mode? Well, what I find very often with my clients is that there is such vibrancy and life and so much in our personalities and who we are when we speak informally, when we connect, when we're just talking about whatever we're talking about. We're with our friends. Sometimes I'll get a client on the call, on our initial call, and they'll be like, "Hey, this is who I am." And they'll tell me all this stuff. And I just see so much dynamic in their face, in their voice, in their spirit. And the moment we start working on something like a talk or a presentation, they go to a totally different, inauthentic place. It is as if a mask is placed on them and they're like, "This is the way I present and this is what I'm supposed to say and this is what I need to do." And I'm like, who is this? Every time. I have experienced this myself. It's not just my clients or people who haven't yet got it. And it's something that I think we all have to work on because I believe that systemically there are certain things telling us how we should show up in the world, how we should hold our faces, how we should pronounce these words, how we should stand and look. And even if we don't subscribe to any of that BS, it's programmed. And so again, very often I see it with Black women and women of color where there's this other person that comes. Quick story. So over 10 years ago, I was doing some acting training at Steppenwolf Theater. I was in what they call School at Steppenwolf, an amazing, amazing program. If anyone is interested in growing in their acting skills and learning really good ensemble training, hardcore stuff, go to School at Steppenwolf. They're still going and it's an incredible training space. And I was in my Meisner class. Now, for those of you who don't know, Meisner is an acting technique that is about you responding honestly in the moment. So it teaches you, it breaks the patterns of you responding in an inauthentic way, because acting is behavior and response. That's what it's about. So it reprograms your brain. So we're in our first Meisner class, and my teacher is the great K. Todd Freeman, an ensemble member at Steppenwolf Theater and a legend in the theater, Tony nominated, all the stuff. And I was in a space where many of the actors had a little bit more training than me. It was diverse, whatever that is, but there were 5 people of color, so it wasn't. This is 2009. So I'm one of 4 Black women. I'm in his class, and we start the first Meisner session. We start the initial repetition. You start with repetition. You basically repeat what the other actor is saying. So they say something, you say what they say, and you allow the shift in naming the behavior to change the context of what's happening. So when we all introduced ourselves, before I even got up there, I was just like, hey, everybody, I'm Rhonda. I did my own thing. I look blah, blah, blah. I felt like I was myself. I felt comfortable there. But the moment that I got up in front of the class and I was doing my repetition with my partner, I instantly got into this mode. And he was like, what is this? So he called it out, and I was like, I don't know. I just, I'm a young Black woman in this acting program, and I don't feel confident in my abilities. I feel intimidated. I have a shit ton of imposter syndrome. What I wanted to say if I knew it, but in the moment I was just like, I don't know, because I thought that's how it's supposed to be. And I kept doing it. And again, he's like daddy. And so I would get up there thinking I'm doing something. He'd be like, Rhonda, stop playing. And I'd be like, ah, and then I'm embarrassed. But I was putting on a mode that I felt like I needed to do to be approved of, to be good. I thought that I was doing what I was supposed to do. I'm like, this is acting, right? I used to be painfully, forcibly nice, even though I think I'm a nice person, but no, not always. But I thought that I had a view of how I was supposed to be perceived in this world. And it was for multiple different reasons, coming from all angles, my insecurities, my imposter syndrome, me knowing that I'm a Black woman. I'm a Black woman that looks very young, which is a great thing now. But when I was 27, I looked 21, and I felt like it was attached to respect and me being, I've always been very youthful. And so I just had all that trash happening, and I was masking so much. And so nobody really felt like they could know me, and it affected my connection. And this is exactly what I see in many of my clients that I work with. So yes, I see these people, and they're really, I see the dynamic, I see the potential when we have our initial call, and we build an incredible talk. We work on, cultivating the message. And as soon as it's time to practice delivery, a different person shows up. And what I want for all of you to do is turn off that presenter mode. Turn it off. This does not mean you don't read the room. This does not mean that you don't know your audience and know where you are. This does not mean that you don't have an awareness of how you are coming across. What I find is that people are prioritizing what they perceive others to expect from them and are limiting so many things that are unique about themselves. Can anybody relate to this? What are you assuming about your audience versus what do you know when you find yourself in these spaces? And we all end up doing it. What are you assuming about your audience? What are you assuming that they think you need to come off as? What do you think professionalism is? Which I think is crap, because I think there is a way and a decorum to respect people. I think professionalism in a space is one way, but most of the time professionalism is based in whiteness. Okay. So what do you perceive as professional? It doesn't mean that you don't read the room and make sure that the language you're using is a language that your audience understands. But who told you that you can't be yourself when you speak, whatever yourself is? Who said you can't be humorous? Who said that you're supposed to contort yourself to be approved of by others? You probably know that answer better than me, right? But let me tell you, the downside to this is that we don't really get to know you. We don't really get to see who you are. We miss it. And I have to say Our good friend perfection is right there when you're doing that. Perfectionism is like, you said too many times and you sound weird. And perfectionism is showing up all the time, telling you how you need to be, plus all the systemic stuff. And we still miss you. So you're still not getting it right, whatever you think right is. I want you to know that whatever you perceive the audience wants to get from you, how you want to be presented, will never be enough. So what I have learned in my years of being a speech therapist, an actor, performer, and doing what I do now as a public speaking coach is that you will never achieve someone else's expectations of you if that is your focus. And you will never win that game, especially for Black women and women of color. And your favorite speakers, those people that you look up to, that you're just like, oh, they're amazing and I want to be like that. What they have done is figured out what is unique about them, what they can do that nobody else can, and leaned completely into that. That is what all of them have done. And a lot of times people approach public speaking and they think, I need to speak like that. I've had so many people like, can you make me like this? And I'm just like, well, no, I cannot. This person has done work in training themselves how to be a strong public speaker and knowing who they are. And what you get is the cooked version of them working on themselves. They put the recipe together. You don't have those expectations on you. So you don't need to go into this situation being a different person than who you are. Now, being who you are is loaded. A lot of people are talking about authenticity, and I think it's layered and it takes a lot of self-work to really come to that place. And I feel like this is a recent thought, controversial, but I believe that I value intentionality over authenticity, because authenticity, it's a bit more complicated. I feel like there's a lot more nuance there. In either case, when you are really leaning into who you are, when you don't have those pressures, when you think like, how do I like to talk? Well, I'm a person that talks a lot with my hands. Rhonda, I am a person that talks a lot with my hands. I'm never going to tell you if you work with me, don't do that. That's not my thing. My thing is always, is it serving you? Are you doing it so much that it is distracting us from you? Right? They come, oh, I say and uhs a lot. I say, so do I. Is it serving you? We say that a lot for multiple reasons, but is it serving you? Are you saying it every other word that we are missing you? I'm less concerned with that and more concerned with you putting on a vocal tone and accent and guarded presence that you seem like a robot and I know you're a vibrant person. That's what I'm concerned about. The Maya Angelou quote, my favorite, one of my favorite, but the people will forget what you say. People will forget what you do, but they will never forget how you made them feel. That is so incredibly true and honest. Even if you say the wrong thing or even if you mess up on your words or regardless of how they're going to remember that feeling. And that feeling is not going to come through if you're masking. It's not going to come through. It's just not. It's just not. And it is uncomfortable once you start to learn how to do that. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that mistakes don't happen. I'm not saying that you don't have to read the room. I'm not saying that you don't have to speak in a language or in a way that connects with your audience, but you shouldn't start with thinking about how you're going to be perceived by the other person. Where you start is, how am I going to impact this audience? What do I want them to do or feel? By the time I'm done talking, whatever I say, what do I want them to do or feel? What are they going to do or feel when I leave that? Right? That's what's most important. Once we start there, then we can craft our message. Then we can focus on making sure that nothing limits our message from being clear. We can focus on those other things. But all of that work, it always starts with how you impact your audience. Bottom line, that's where the work starts. And then you figure out, okay, am I doing things that are not serving me, that are limiting my message, that are reducing how I'm being perceived, that are not serving me, right? I'll give you examples of things that were not serving me. I remember having a voice teacher when I was also at the School of Steppenwolf. Wonderful voice teacher. Her name's Kate DeVore. Best in the business. Best in the business. But she called me out on it. She was like, you're resonating your voice higher and you're raising your shoulders. And she was like, you always want to make yourself be small. She sat me down with that, and I had to really think through that. And this is what I talk about, how authenticity is so complex, because it takes a lot of doing the work. Like, why am I doing these things? Why am I holding my arms up? Why am I holding my shoulders up like this? Why am I using the higher resonated voice? What's up with that? Why do I want to be small? What makes me think that being small is what people want to see? And that took a lot of work. Like, am I afraid to offend people? But those are the questions that we have to ask each other. So I want to back up a bit because I want to teach a few things about how to really turn off your presenter mode. The first thing is awareness. You have to really be aware of what you are doing that doesn't seem authentic or intentional and doesn't serve you. So what are you doing? What are you not aware of when you're doing? Like, are you using your hands so much that they're distracting? Are you feeling like I got a code switch or these people won't get it? Are you feeling like I need to talk softer or resonate my words in a different way? Are you feeling all these ways? Like, are you, like, what is happening? What are you seeing that you're doing that doesn't seem like the regular you? And then identify those things. Then you're going to ask yourself, why? Why could I be doing that? Why is that happening? Do I think that that's what they want to see? Do I think that that's going to get me what I want? Do you think that that's going to approve of me? In your why, you're going to say, is this serving me? Is this serving me to resonate my voice like this? Is it serving me to be really serious when I know I'm a laid back person? Is it serving me to pretend like I'm really, really funny? What is this? Like, really dig deep and figure it out. And then you're going to identify, what really do I feel like when I am in the zone? What am I doing with my body? What am I showing? How am I when I'm most happy, when I'm passionate, when I'm telling a story that I really, really like and I'm really excited about? What am I doing with myself? How do I talk? How's my voice? How are my eyes? How warm am I? How specific am I in choosing my words? How much do I not care? And really, really lean into that. And if you don't know that, then we could do some deeper work. Think about what's really unique about me that only that I do when I talk. So for me, because I know myself, I know that I do not like serious most of the time. But when I get serious, it gets serious. But I don't like serious. I'm generally really laid back. I like for things to be fun. If I show up in a meeting and it's really serious, I'm like, this energy that I just personally don't enjoy. So I'm always going to bring levity and light some kind of way, even when it's something serious. Even though I'm a speech language pathologist and blah, 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 I'm a Black girl from the South Side of Chicago, and you about to get that too every time, no matter who I talk to. Right. But again, I'm going to make sure that my audience still understands me. Right. They may not know all the jargon that I'm using. Doesn't mean I need to be shamed or put that in a bag, but it means that I'm going to give it context so you can connect with me, right? Or I talk with my whole body, but I have to watch and make sure that it's not super distracting. But it's nothing wrong with the fact that I'm a lot all the time. I'm energetic, and I get energized by connecting with people. I get energy from doing this work. And so I'm probably going to be really energetic. But maybe that is not you, and that's totally okay. Maybe you are the serious person. Maybe you do like to be straightforward because it's not a game, whatever it is you're talking about, and I respect that too. Maybe you have a dry humor that everybody doesn't get, but those who get it love it. Maybe you love highfalutin words and you live in a thesaurus all day and you want to let us know the next big word you learned. That's great too. Maybe you have an accent, and that's fine. So many people do in the United States, and accents are not bad or wrong. They show where we are. They're a part of where we come from. Maybe, there's so many things, but you got to lean into that and be like, that's me. That's what I have. That's great. That's something that they can't offer. This great combination of things. If you look at your speakers that you look up to, none of them have whatever is perfect, whatever that is. I don't believe in that, but whatever you probably think it is. They all have a lot of uniqueness. A lot of people love somebody else. I stand Brene Brown. You're not going to come for Brene. Don't, if you say something about Brene, I'm just like, I don't hear it. But, if you look at Brene's, TED Talks and her initial one that really catapulted the words vulnerability to our language very much. And I think it was 2011. I think it's The Power of Vulnerability. You will notice that there are imperfect things about the way she speaks. She uses a lot. She uses a lot because I've studied, but she has incredible comedic timing. To be somebody who's a researcher and a social worker, she is really warm and you feel like you can talk to her all the time, right? If you think about some other people, like Oprah has various ways of becoming, like, Oprah has this grandiose situation, but she also can be really laid back and be like, I don't, like she gives you all of that. Yes, all these people have earned income, but you can do the same thing. You can do the very, 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 very same thing. So I have done a whole lot of talking. I'm going to say the last couple things. You absolutely have to find your own style of presenting. You're not going to succeed trying to imitate these people that you love or what you think, because it's not going to come out the same way. So you have to really hone in on your style, and to hone it in, you have to actually do it. Like you have to actually speak and try some things out and see what happens. And it's going to be uncomfortable, especially if you're used to using your presenter mode all the time, especially if you're used to putting that on. It's going to be weird because you might feel a little bit exposed, or you might feel like, hey, maybe this is not working, but you have to be willing to do that to really, really connect with your audience. Because that's the point every time. Not how good you sound, not them clapping, but connecting and transforming. That's it. Some people like to ask, well, Rhonda, what if? I get a lot of that, but I can't just come up in here and blah, 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 blah. XYZ. Fill in your XYZ of, I can't just come up in this presentation and, I don't know, pick your euphemisms, I can't just, maybe not, but not because they won't approve of you, but because they may not understand and connect. And not for that, but just you understand who your audience is and what they speak in. But it doesn't mean that you can't pepper yourself through that. No matter how you're presenting yourself, you're always going to show up however they see you. I got some questions. How do you turn off presenter mode in Zoom video chats? I use so much energy. Zoom is so much more tiring than presenting in person. And I figured that out because my life is talking, but it is because you're not getting that energy exchange back. When you speak in person, you have an energy exchange of people are listening, they're responding, you see their faces. When you speak to a screen, you are speaking to a screen no matter who's there. So you're not getting nothing back, right? You're not getting anything back. And it takes more. So you have to budget your energy, which, I am not the specialist in, because I'm always like, energy. Okay, I'm done. But you have to pull back, take a break if you need to, turn the screen off if you need to, or present yourself or just decide that you're only going to say this and that's that. Like you have to set your boundaries. Otherwise you will burn out. You will burn out. What I like to do is try to create an energy exchange as much as possible. So if it's like a webinar style where you can't really see the people, I harass the chat. So I'm like, what are you saying? So talk to me. Tell me something. Like I'm doing with you all now. If you can see the people, then I ask questions and give other people chances to talk. And I try to incorporate that throughout. And that helps me a lot too. But you absolutely need to have your Zoom breaks. You need to turn off your screen if you need to. And you need to pass the mic as much as possible, especially if you're co-moderating or co-presenting. Like pass the mic, and create whatever energy exchange you can. And when I mean Zoom break, I have clients who are like, I'm in Zoom meetings all day, and they go from one Zoom meeting to the next. No, if you got to be late, be late. Take your 5 minutes, get up, go walk around, because it will drain your life. So let's say you start presenting and you're like, I'm in mode. I realize that I am putting on this presenter mode. What I always say is that there is power in the pause. And I am a person who doesn't like to stop. I do not like slow. Some of y'all know me very well, so y'all can be like, yep. I do not like slow. I like to keep going. But you pause, check in. It's never as long as you think. And you're like, cat pause. No, pause, like stop. You pause, you stop in the middle, and you think, okay, let me get back to me. Let me sink into what I'm doing. That's when you go back to your intention. If you work with me, you'll know I have this whole framework called the intention triangle, where we really get serious about what we want, how we want to impact our audience. But you pause and you say, what am I here to do? What do I want this audience to do or feel? And then you start again. You start again. A lot of times I feel like it's also in your body and you're not realizing it. Pay attention to where you're holding tension in your body. Are you holding it in your shoulders and your arms and your legs? And sometimes it's just like releasing that a little bit. So if you're in the middle of presenting and you notice like, okay, this body position doesn't seem right, just switch it. Just switch it up. Just switch it up and see if some authenticity doesn't come through. But it takes time and practice to not feel like I am presenting. I have to do that. Shake it out. I love a shake it out. Shake it out is great. It's great when you're preparing. Anytime I'm presenting or performing, I have to have music and I have to move my body. It's 90% of the time it's Beyonce, but not always. But I just have to get my body moving. So I always get into that. Sometimes being very specific about what songs you choose that will get you in the right mindset to show up. And this is not just if you have to give a big keynote. This is sometimes if you have to have a conversation or you are in a meeting or anything, like what is the song that's going to get me in that mindset, right? What is that? And then sometimes it's top down, and y'all getting all the gems today because I could talk about this all day. But sometimes it's top down and thinking about like, who are the people that inspire me? Not to imitate them, but like, do I need to bring Beyonce into this meeting because they're not getting it? Do I need a little, Michelle Obama right now? Do I need, like whatever it is, like, do I need to bring some, and it doesn't have to be these kinds of people. But you think about, like, again, not imitating, but like, what is that energy? Because sometimes you just need to break out of what you are so formulaically used to doing. I'm going to end with a question to you. When can you sink into your truth when you present? When are there moments where you can sink into that? When are there moments where you can incorporate a level of honesty, vulnerability, your personality, your life experiences when you speak? It doesn't have to be telling your life story. It could just simply be you being you. How can you inject that into stuff? Even if it's work presentations that you hate, how can you inject that? How can you show up? Because I guarantee if you do that, you will enjoy it better as well as your audience. So tell me, I would love to hear it.
I hope you all learned about turning off presenter mode. I hope you are starting to recognize when it shows up for you. It's a process. Please know this. It's not going to happen overnight, but start to pay attention to when it shows up for you and with whom. And think about when it shows up, what can I do differently? What parts of me do I need to inject in this moment for me to feel more intentional and ingrained in who I am? In the Catalyst Academy, my 12-month public speaking incubator for women of color, we give you the tools to show up intentionally every time. To apply, go to simplyspeechsolutions.com/The Catalyst Academy. Thanks for listening and see you next time. Bye.